In America, we are told that safety is a luxury. If you want to leave your front door unlocked, the market says you need $500,000. If you only have $100,000, you are told to accept crime, sirens, and bars on your windows. But what if that is wrong? We scoured the data to find the unicorns towns where you can buy a solid house for the price of a luxury car, yet the violent crime rate is virtually zero. These are places where neighbors still wave, and the police are bored. But remember our golden rule: cheap always comes with a catch. In these towns, you aren't paying with money, but you are paying with something else. You are paying with your body heat in sub-zero winters, your health near industrial sites, or your sanity in isolation. We found the 10 safest dirt-cheap towns in the country, and the brutal truth about why nobody else wants to live there. Number 10. Presque Isle, Maine. If your definition of safety includes being safe from human beings, Presque Isle is your fortress. Located in Aroostook County, practically touching the Canadian border, this town has a crime rate that is comically low. You are statistically far more likely to hit a moose with your car than you are to be mugged by a human. The housing market here is frozen in time. You can find sturdy Cape Cod-style homes or historic farmhouses for $120,000. These are real houses with full basements, large backyards, and solid bones, not shacks. It is the hub of the county, so it actually has a hospital, a university branch, and a small regional airport. But the catch is the thermodynamic reality and the heating oil trap. Presque Isle is not just cold, it is biologically hostile. We are talking about winters where the temperature drops to 30 degrees below zero and stays there for weeks. At that temperature, exposed skin freezes in minutes. Car batteries die overnight unless you have a block heater plugged in. The cheap houses here are almost all heated by heating oil. Natural gas lines do not run this far north in many rural spots. You will have a massive 275-gallon oil tank in your basement. In a bad winter, given the lack of insulation in these old homes, you might burn through 4 or 5 tanks. At current fluctuation prices of $4 to $5 a gallon, you are looking at a heating bill of $5,000 to $6,000 a season. That averages out to a $1,000 monthly utility cost just to keep your pipes from bursting. Furthermore, these oil tanks have a lifespan. If you buy a cheap house, the tank is likely 30 years old and rusting from the inside out due to condensation. If that tank leaks, it is an EPA hazmat disaster. You have to dig up your concrete basement floor and remove tons of contaminated soil. The remediation cost is easily $20,000. You cannot get home insurance without a certified, inspected, and modern tank. And the isolation is profound. You are 5 hours north of Portland, Maine. You are at the end of the road. If you need a specialized heart surgeon or a specific cancer treatment that the local hospital can't handle, you are facing a medical evacuation scenario, not a drive. It is safe, yes, but it is lonely and expensive to stay alive. Number 9. Oil City, Pennsylvania. The name says it all. This was once the wealthy headquarters of Pennzoil in Quaker State. It was the epicenter of the American oil rush in the 1800s. Because of that Victorian-era wealth, the housing stock is incredible. You can buy a massive 3,000-square-foot Victorian mansion with stained glass windows, intricate oak woodwork, and servant staircases for $80,000. The crime rate is incredibly low because the population has aged out. The trouble left when the corporate headquarters left decades ago. It is quiet, sleepy, and situated beautifully along the Allegheny River. The catch is the maintenance of decay and the lead legacy. These $80,000 mansions are financial suicide traps for the middle class. Many of them have original slate roofs. A slate roof lasts 100 years, but when it fails catastrophically. You cannot just call a guy to slap some asphalt shingles on it. The structure requires slate. You need a slate specialist, which is a dying breed. To re-roof a house of this size with slate, or a synthetic equivalent, will cost you $30,000. That is literally half the value of the house. Then there is the plumbing infrastructure. Oil City has an aging water system. Many of the service lines, the pipe running from the street main to your house, are made of lead. Replacing a lead service line is often the homeowner's responsibility, involving digging up the street and your yard, costing $5,000 to $10,000. Inside the walls, you are likely dealing with galvanized steel pipes that have calcified to the diameter of a straw, reducing your water pressure to a trickle. Repiping a 3-story Victorian house requires opening plaster walls in every room. The dust from that plaster likely contains horsehair and lead paint, creating a toxic mess. And finally, the economy is stagnant. There are very few high-paying jobs left. If you don't bring a remote job or a pension, you will be working for minimum wage in the service sector. You are living in a museum exhibit of a bygone era, and museums are incredibly expensive to maintain. Number 8. Marshall, Minnesota. Marshall is located in the southwest corner of Minnesota, out on the open prairie. It is the headquarters of Schwann's Company, the ice cream and frozen food giant, which provides a stable economic base and keeps the town afloat. The median home price hovers around $150,000 for a very decent family-sized home with a garage. It is incredibly safe. The Minnesota nice culture is real here. People leave their cars running in the winter when they run into the convenience store, though we don't recommend it. It is a high-trust society with good schools and a clean environment. The catch is the wind chill and the frost heave. Unlike the woods of Maine, which block the wind, Marshall is on the open prairie. There is nothing to stop the wind between here and the North Pole. The wind screams across the flatlands at 30 to 40 miles per hour, dropping the wind chill to -50 degrees. This extreme cold does physical damage to structures. It causes frost heave. The ground freezes deep down, expanding the soil with incredible force. This lifts driveways, cracks foundations, and snaps underground pipes. You need to inspect the foundation of any cheap house here with a magnifying glass. If you see horizontal cracks in the block foundation, that is frost pressure pushing the wall in. Fixing that requires excavating the exterior perimeter and installing steel I-beams inside, a $15,000 job. Also, the landscape is relentlessly flat and agricultural. The smell of livestock manure is the smell of money, but it is also the smell of your backyard in the spring when the thaw hits. Socially, while Minnesota nice is polite, it can be notoriously hard to break into. People here have known each other since kindergarten. If you are an outsider, you might feel a polite but firm social exclusion for years. You are safe, but you might be very bored and slightly lonely while the wind howls outside. Number 7. Danville, Virginia. Danville sits right on the North Carolina border. It used to be a tobacco and textile powerhouse, the world's best tobacco market. When those industries declined, housing prices crashed hard. Today you can buy a solid brick bungalow or a 4-square house for $90,000. The city has been working hard on a comeback, revitalizing the River District with breweries, lofts, and restaurants. For the price, you get a lot of culture and architecture. The violent crime rate in the residential neighborhoods is surprisingly low for a city of its size, as the community is older and settled. The catch is the mold and humidity, and the utility monopoly. Danville is in the humid subtropical zone. In the summer, the air is a wet blanket. Old brick houses are porous. If the pointing the mortar between bricks is failing, moisture wicks right into the walls. This leads to aspergillus and stachybotrys, black mold growing behind the drywall and in the crawl spaces. Encapsulating a crawl space to stop the moisture costs $5,000. If you don't do it, your floor joists will rot and your air quality will plummet. Furthermore, Danville operates its own utility company. Residents often complain about utility bills, electric and water, that are significantly higher than the national average, sometimes rivaling a mortgage payment in the peak of summer or winter. You might buy a cheap house but pay $400 to $500 a month just to keep the lights on and the AC running. And the soil here is heavy red clay. It stains everything. If you have a dog, your carpets will turn orange. It also drains poorly, so if the property doesn't have a functioning French drain system, your basement will flood every time it storms. Number 6. Boonville, Missouri. Located in the center of the state along the Missouri River, Boonville is a postcard-perfect small town. It has a rich history. The Katy Trail, a massive hiking/biking trail, runs right through it, and the housing is incredibly affordable. You can find turn-of-the-century homes for $120,000. It is safe. It feels like 1950s America in many ways. The biggest noise complaint is usually the train passing through or the high school football game on Friday night. The catch is the river risk and the radon gas. Boonville is a river town. While the town sits on a bluff, the surrounding infrastructure and access roads are vulnerable to the Missouri River's unpredictable flooding. In 1993 and 2019, the region saw catastrophic floods that cut off transportation. Even if your house is high and dry, your commute might be underwater, or the local water treatment plant might be overwhelmed, leading to boil orders where you can't drink from the tap. But the invisible killer in Missouri is radon gas. The geology of Missouri involves a lot of limestone and uranium deposits, As the uranium decays, it releases radon, a radioactive gas that causes lung cancer. Old houses with cracked limestone foundations are radon magnets. It seeps up through the basement floor. You absolutely must pay for a $150 radon test before buying. If the levels are high over 4 pCIL, you need a mitigation system. While the system only costs about $1,500, the psychological burden of living with a radioactive basement is real. Also, the humidity in Missouri is legendary. It breeds a specific type of mold that loves limestone basements. You will need to run commercial dehumidifiers constantly, adding to your electric bill. And don't forget the tornadoes. You need a verified structurally sound storm cellar, not just a creepy basement. Number 5. Salamanca, New York. This is one of the most unique, complicated, and misunderstood real estate markets in the United States. Salamanca is the only city in America that lies almost completely within an Indian reservation, the Seneca Nation of Indians. Because of this unique legal status, housing prices are artificially suppressed. You can buy a large, beautiful, 4-bedroom family home here for $70,000. The streets are exceptionally safe, the community is tight-knit, and you are surrounded by the stunning Allegheny Mountains. It is a haven for outdoor lovers with Allegheny State Park right next door, providing endless hiking and skiing. But the catch is the leasehold estate nightmare. You do not technically own the land in the traditional American sense. You own the physical structure of the house, but you lease the dirt underneath it from the Seneca Nation. This is not a standard property arrangement. In the past, specifically during the 1990s, there was a massive contentious legal dispute over lease renewals that led to market uncertainty and a crash in values. While the current leases have been renewed and are stable for decades, national banks are still terrified of them. Getting a traditional 30-year fixed mortgage here is extremely difficult. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac often have strict guidelines about lending on tribal land where foreclosure rights are limited. You often need to pay cash or find a specialized local lender who will charge you significantly higher interest rates because they view the property as higher risk. Furthermore, because the tax structure is different, you might not pay traditional property tax, but you pay a lease fee and other municipal service fees. If you get into a property line dispute with a neighbor or a zoning issue, you are subject to the jurisdiction of the Seneca Nation, not necessarily New York State Court. It is the ultimate safety at a discount, but you are trading your fee-simple ownership rights for that discount. If you are okay with being a long-term tenant on your own land, it's a steal. If you want traditional property rights and the ability to build generational wealth through appreciation, it's a trap. Number 4. Weirton, West Virginia. Weirton sits in the northern panhandle, tightly squeezed between Ohio and Pennsylvania. It is consistently ranked as one of the safest cities in West Virginia. The violent crime rate is virtually non-existent. People leave their garage doors open. You can buy a solid brick ranch house with a finished basement for $110,000. The location is strategic. You are only 40 minutes from the Pittsburgh International Airport. You get the low West Virginia cost of living and taxes, with access to Pittsburgh's world-class hospitals and cultural amenities. The catch is the industrial hangover and the blight checkerboard. Weirton was a steel town. The Weirton Steel Corporation was the lifeblood of the city, employing thousands. As the mills downsized, went bankrupt, and closed, they left behind a heavy environmental legacy. The soil in certain parts of the valley contains elevated levels of heavy metals like arsenic and lead from decades of industrial fallout. You need to get a comprehensive soil test before you even think about planting a vegetable garden, or you might be eating poison. The air quality, while much better than in the 1970s, can still be affected by the remaining industry and the valley topography that traps particulates during temperature inversions. But the biggest issue is the blight. While your street might be manicured and safe, 3 streets over might be a row of abandoned, boarded-up steelworker cottages that are slowly rotting into the ground. This checkerboard blight depresses property values permanently. Your house will never appreciate like a normal asset. You are buying a place to live, not an investment. Also, beware of the city service fee. Weirton, like many West Virginia towns struggling for revenue, charges a weekly or monthly fee for police and fire protection directly to residents on top of your taxes. It's a hidden cost of about $200–300 a year that surprises new arrivals. It's safe, but you are literally paying a subscription fee for that safety. Number 3. Coffeyville, Kansas. Coffeyville is located in southeast Kansas, near the Oklahoma border. It is historically famous for the shootout with the Dalton Gang in the 1890s, But today it is famous for having some of the cheapest real estate in the civilized world. You can buy a massive two-story Victorian house on a corner lot for $65,000. The town has a community college, 2 hospitals, and a very low violent crime rate. It feels like a time capsule of 1950s America where kids ride bikes in the street. The catch is the refinery risk and the toxic flood. The town's skyline and economy are dominated by the Coffeyville Resources Refinery. It processes crude oil 24/7. Depending on the wind direction, the smell of sulfur and hydrocarbons can be overpowering. If you have asthma or sensitive lungs, this air will hurt you. In 2007, a catastrophic flood overwhelmed the refinery. The Verdigris River rose so high it breached the refinery's defenses, spilling 80,000 gallons of crude oil into the floodwaters that covered the eastern part of the town. While the EPA oversaw the cleanup, the stigma remains. Homes in the lower-lying areas, which are the cheapest ones, are in the flood zone. Flood insurance here is mandatory if you have a mortgage, and the premiums are rising fast. You also have to worry about the cancer cluster fear that often accompanies refinery towns, although official reports vary. And socially, this is a very insular community. Friday Night Lights is a religion here. If you don't care about the local high school football team, you will have nothing to talk about at the diner. You are safe from muggers, but you are not safe from industrial accidents or environmental hazards. Number 2. Ironwood, Michigan. Ironwood is located in the Upper Peninsula, the UP of Michigan, right on the Wisconsin border. It is an absolute outdoor paradise. Skiing, snowmobiling, hiking, and waterfalls are everywhere. The houses are incredibly cheap. You can find a miner's cottage for $70,000 or a large family home for $110,000. The crime rate is so low that the police blotter is often just reports of snowmobiles parked illegally or a bear getting into a dumpster. It is a high-trust, neighborly society where people help each other dig out. The catch is the lake effect snow machine. Ironwood is one of the snowiest cities in America. We are not talking about a few feet of snow. We are talking about 200 inches, that is over 16 feet of snow a season. This is not just weather, it is a lifestyle constraint. You spend half your life shoveling or snowblowing. The snowbanks get so high they block your first-floor windows, plunging your house into darkness for months. This heavy snow load destroys roofs. If you buy a cheap house, you must inspect the roof rafters for cracks and sagging. A collapsed roof is a common end for abandoned homes here. You also need ice dam prevention systems, heated cables on your roof edge, or the melting snow will refreeze, back up under your shingles and flood your walls with water, causing black mold. The Yooper accent and culture are unique and distinct. It is isolated. The nearest major city is Duluth or Minneapolis, hours away through treacherous icy roads that are often closed. If you get depressed by lack of sunlight, the gray, heavy skies from November to April will break you. But if you love winter and want a safe, quiet life where the biggest danger is a snowdrift, Ironwood is the place. Number 1. Okmulgee, Oklahoma. Okmulgee is the capital of the Muskogee Creek Nation. It has a beautiful historic downtown with ornate stone buildings that look like a movie set from the 1920s oil boom. You can buy a historic 3-bedroom craftsman bungalow here for $85,000. A mansion that would cost $2 million in California costs $250,000 here. The violent crime rate in the residential historic districts is very low. It is quiet, green, and lush. The catch is the infrastructure collapse and the water crisis. Okmulgee has been in the national news recently for a severe water crisis. The city's water infrastructure is ancient, failing, and underfunded. There have been multi-day water outages where the entire city had dry taps. Residents had to line up for bottled water distribution by the National Guard. The pipes are breaking faster than the city can fix them. If you buy a house here, you absolutely need to install a whole house backup water tank and a pump system, or you will be flushing your toilet with pool water or driving to a truck stop to shower. This infrastructure failure extends to the roads, which are often crumbling and full of potholes. The local economy is also struggling, with high poverty rates in the outskirts. There is a stark divide between the beautiful historic homes and the poverty just a few blocks away. And you are in Oklahoma, so you have the constant tornado risk and the high home insurance premiums we discussed in previous videos. But for the sheer dollar per square foot value in a town with such architectural beauty, Okmulgee is unrivaled, assuming you can handle not having running water for a week at a time. The pattern here is clear. Safety at a low price is possible in America, but it is always coupled with difficulty. You can be safe from crime, but you might be vulnerable to the cold, the snow, the flood, the toxic soil, or the crumbling infrastructure. You are trading the human risk of the big city crime, theft, violence, for the environmental and logistical risk of the rural frontier. For a retiree on a fixed income, these towns offer a lifeline. They offer a paid-off house and a quiet night's sleep without fear of a break-in. But you have to go in with your eyes open. You need to inspect the oil tank. You need to check the flood map. You need to budget for the snowplow and the water tank. Which of these unicorn towns would you choose? Would you take the snow of Ironwood or the humidity of Danville? Or do you know a safe, cheap town that I missed? Don't tell us if you want to keep it a secret. Let me know in the comments. If you want to know which states to avoid entirely, the places that are neither cheap nor safe, make sure you watch our Exodus video next. Hit subscribe for more reality checks. Stay safe, stay warm, and I'll see you in the next one.